Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. Did you just go run?
Yeah. Yeah, I ran to where you can see that statue. Hey? Thanks, sir.
How far did you go?
I don't know. I don't know how far it was, but it was a fairly long way. To where you can see the statue.
Which statue?
The Statue of Liberty. So.
Oh, okay.
Went to the water.
Red Hook. Almost.
Went to the water, crossed the Brooklyn Bridge, is it? The bridge just here?
Yeah. Williamsburg Bridge.
Williamsburg Bridge, and then back down to the water.
Okay.
And turned right and went sort of as far as I could go that way.
Yeah.
And then I think it was... And you could see the statue across the water.
That's like Red Hook area.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know New York very well.
Well, I guess you could see the statue before Red Hook, to be honest.
Okay.
Like Dumbo.
Yeah, I don't know.
I used to live over there.
I went under a couple of bridges. Went under a bridge there was basketball courts like under the bridge and...
Basketball courts on the bridge, okay. I went running today too.
Did ya? How'd you go?
Yeah, it did pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm doing this 100 miles in September.
Mm-hmm.
I did it last month.
100 miles?
100 miles.
Wow, fuck, that's a long way.
Yeah.
In
1 month.
Oh, okay.
Some people do that.
I thought you meant in one go.
No, hell no. No. Like an ultra marathon.
My brother did that.
No.
Did like 100 Ks, I think it was.
Yeah. In one go?
In one go, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I think the most I've ever gone in one go is like 13 miles or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's a long way.
Kind of a long way.
Yeah.
I did 10 this month once.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. Because I always count in Ks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
2 Ks is 1 mile.
Here,
no, 1.6.
Put the mic up closer to you.
1.6 Ks is 1 mile. So I was trying to figure out before how far I went today, but I don't know.
Well, you don't have...
I think it was about 15 Ks maybe.
Oh, so it's far.
I reckon. It must have been, because I was running for...
Over an hour.
Easy. Hour and a half, 2 hours.
That's amazing. That's great. How often do you do that?
I used to do sometimes like 30 Ks a day on tour.
So a marathon, basically.
I didn't know I was until I realized one day someone tracked it, or somehow someone worked out how far I was going. I was going a long way. But I stopped doing that because I had a few back surgeries. I had a surgery. So I just started not doing so much repetitive stuff. But I write a lot of music when I run. So
you write music when you run?
Yeah, so I used to just smoke a spliff and then just run and just write music. And
you mean just nothing in your... No headphones? Just run?
No, I just run and I write lyrics and write music.
And you remember them?
Yeah, I go them over and over in my head.
Oh, really?
And then when I get back, I write them down.
Interesting.
Yeah, or, because I run in the rhythm of what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I find it's a good way to write.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And no headphones? Nothing?
No.
I need to start doing that.
Yeah.
I'm too dependent on the headphones.
Yeah, they're distracting.
Yeah, sometimes...
It's also a good way to get hit by a bus.
Well, I'm cool with that because I'm on the East River, so it's like, but
you're probably pretty good in the city. I'm fucking hopeless because I'm not used to traffic.
Yeah,
I grew up in the bush, so
right.
If I'm not super aware of what's coming, I'll get hit.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I put a mantra on a lot of times.
Righto.
So that'll take me into a meditation place.
That'd be beautiful.
That's nice, but I think it's even more badass if you just go without headphones.
Yeah.
Do you leave your phone behind? Or do you
no, I don't take anything.
You don't take anything?
No, nothing.
See, that's badass.
Is it?
Well, I'm still kind of like dependent on... I'm aware that I'm still dependent on this thing when I'm going out and doing it. I still feel like a badass doing something other than just like laying around being depressed.
I fucking hate the phone, man.
I do too.
Anytime I can chuck that thing away, I do.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you do to keep yourself together on tour? Like, I would assume that's like a ritual, like for...
Yeah, I mean, running was always something I guess I started doing because when I started touring, playing music, I sort of went from a fairly what do you call it? Isolated, loner kind of existence. Like I grew up spending a fair bit of time on my own, and I grew up on the coast in a tiny town, and then I went into this mode of people and performing and shows, and it took me a while to adjust, and I found that running was a good way that I could, where I would usually maybe surf or whatever when I was a kid. It was a similar kind of thing where I could get away from people, but I could still do that in the city. Like I used to like to, surfing for me was a chance to like just get away from everyone when I was a kid and be in the water and sort of step off the earth almost, sort of vibe. And I felt like running sort of gave me that
similar connection.
That similar connection, and it was a healthier option, because I think when I first started touring, I used to smoke a lot of weed, and that's how I kind of dealt with people, and that was a bit of a trap because I became pretty dependent on it. Yeah. So I started to exercise more, and then I had a few surgeries in my 30s, 2 back surgeries, and my wife, who I've been with for the last 5 years, she was a dancer and a trainer, a personal trainer and a yoga teacher, and she helped me sort of understand balanced exercise as opposed to just doing one repetitive movement. Yeah. So these days on tour, I just try and keep everything moving,
How about yoga?
Yeah, I did yoga too.
Yeah, I love yoga.
So a bit of everything.
Yeah, I'm super into that. I boxed too, so I started doing it. I hurt my hand. Yeah. And I was like so addicted to exercise. That's what got me into yoga. Then when I was injured, then I started doing yoga, and I got that sweat. Right. I just love that. Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to do boxing. I'd like to try that. It's fun. Yeah. It's definitely it's good because it engages your brain in a similar way to learning guitar. I mean, they call it the sweet science, and it's like it's so technical and involved. I mean, like you could go very far with it without ever sparring or even like coming close to becoming injured or anything like that. And I find like people in boxing gyms tend to be like some of the sweetest, softest people. Yeah. Whereas like with yoga studios, sometimes it's like the opposite. It's like it's role reversal. I remember a friend of mine took me to boxing training, and I did it for like 3 weeks when I was home once, and it was hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. It's real hard. Yeah, it was cool. I really liked it, but I don't know, I wasn't in that town very long. Yeah, I remember the first time I went to boxing, my trainers like gave me a jump rope and said, "Okay, do this for 1 round." After like a minute of jumping the rope, I was like, "You're joking! Just keep doing." Like it was like so hard. Now I can do it, but like the first time, it's pretty wild. Yeah. But do you still smoke weed? Nah, not really. Not quit. Did it give you the fear? Here and there, I do, but not compared to no. I just got sick of it. I ended up on all these opiate pills. Because of the surgery? Because, I ended up, like, my left leg gave way, and then I was in the middle of a tour with a big band that I had out on the road, and I ended up cancelling a bunch of shows and having to go home and have this sort of emergency surgery,
And leading up to that, I was on all these pills that they gave me for pain because I was in a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. And I didn't smoke then because I didn't need to, because I was high on those pills all the time. And I didn't drink because it'd make me vomit. And so, in a way, they kind of cleaned me up, because I remember when I got off them, it was like getting off heroin or something. Those things were intense. Mm-hmm. And after I had my surgery, so I remember I just didn't want anything in my body anymore. I just went through this real mode of just wanting to be pure and clear, you know. Mm-hmm. I felt like I had this cloudy brain from all those pills for so long.
Yeah.
And so in a way it was kind of cool how it did that, and, you know, gave me that perspective. And, you know, it's always just checking in. We tend to be greedy humans, you know. We tend to latch on to things and then have too much. So I try and be just I try and be just a bit more balanced these days.
The spirit can't talk to you anymore when you're full of drugs.
No, I can't.
Find that's when, like, that's the worst thing is I lose connection to the spirit. I've heard you talk about, like, you know, connection with spirit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So did you find that when you were on the opiates? Like,
it's a blur.
Yeah.
You know, I was still, the pain was kind of cool because I was I was leading a band that was a collection of people that were different, were from different tribes around Australia, Papua New Guinea, South Africa, and there was a lot of spirit around. We were sorry, I can't concentrate with that.
I know
sound.
The music is overwhelming. Like,
yeah, it's hectic.
Just for people, like, the music just turned up.
We're at the venue Xavier's playing at.
Yeah.
And they're sound checking something.
Like, but it's like the loudest I've ever heard this backstage. And all of a sudden, it's like the whole room is shaking. So it's one of those Murphy's Laws.
Yeah, sorry, I got talking and then I started thinking about that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try and refocus. No, I was leading a band that was a collection of different people, different tribes people from different areas. So spiritually, it was hectic. It was a big bowl of a lot of ancestors. A lot of old people with us, a lot of pain. We were bringing a lot of stories to the table and sharing them. And I felt like the pain when I was that I was physically going through when I was leading that band was a representation of the struggle of everyone, you know, that's kind of was amazing. Part of it. So in a way, that's how I channeled it. When I was singing those songs, and there was a lot of tears in those shows, in between band members, in the crowd, in, you know, everywhere. It was quite heavy, and it was a beautiful project. And so this pain that I had was kind of, you know, that's how I understood it. It was part of carrying the struggle of what we were singing about. So the pills dulled it a little bit, but I still had all this pain when I sang. Sometimes I'd like collapse as I was like standing on stage. I was on crutches when I wasn't on stage.
That's what an artist does. That's like a great because artists are alchemists, and to redeem something like a crushing physical pain and turn it into a blessing. That's like speaks kind of highly of your character, man.
Thanks, man.
You know?
Yeah.
But that is what artists do.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's what I did. I didn't really have I had a choice, but I was really respectful of that project. And in the end, we did cancel some of it in the end because I got to the end of the road. I had to go to have surgery, but I didn't want to. I was really, really respectful of that project because there was the players in that band wouldn't always be able to go out and tour. Like, it was pretty unique. So it was cool.
In what way did the pain represent what was going on with the show?
Well, we basically, I guess the common thread between everyone was oppression,
Okay.
And people come from different stories. So the bass player, he came from apartheid, South Africa. All the indigenous members from Australia all have different stories of oppression. Papua New Guinea, same story. So yeah, the people involved, we kind of all brought, in the songs that I wrote for the project, was to basically to bring through the spirit of our old people as a collective through music. And everyone had a story of oppression. Everyone came from a rough past.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that.
Interesting. So you're very tuned into your ancestor, and I heard you speak about your grandmother, or living within you, or an old woman that informs your music inside.
Yeah, I have an understanding that I've always had an old woman with me since I was a kid. And I don't see her or anything. Right. I just feel her. I just have this understanding of this old woman's spirit with me. I don't know who that is. As I've got older, I wonder, and I feel like it might be my great-grandmother or my grandmother on my father's side. But it may not, I don't know. So my history is, on my mother's side, my mum's Irish Dutch. Her father came from Holland to Australia in 1951. And on my father's side, it's quite lost family story, but Irish, Scottish convicts mixed with Aboriginal people. And the Aboriginal side is the one that is really hard to trace. So my grandmother, my dad's mum, she was raised by the father's family, and her mother disappeared. So my great-grandmother was just disappeared into thin air, and I've tried to find her, but no one knows. There's no record of her death or anything in the country. So I mean, it's fairly typical for Aboriginal people, that records weren't kept and different names were given and stuff. But I've always felt like she's around, and she's definitely involved in my music. Sometimes my music is a personal reflection of what's going on within me. It's fairly clear when my music is in an emotional part of myself, but there's often times where it's not me. It's pretty clear. It just comes from that space.
You're channeling.
Yeah, and I don't know, the fact that we haven't found a record of her death, I feel like that spirit can't rest, She's, I don't know what, maybe she just can't rest yet, and she's got plenty to say. So I've had this emotional experience all my life where I was always connected to my indigenous side, which was never talked about, never celebrated in my father's family. He didn't want to know about it.
Why?
He was just all the shame and bitterness, and he came from a fairly rough family, and he ended up with my mum who came from a white
more privileged,
Catholic, just not privileged but together,
right?
Good-hearted, safe kind
less
of
complicated
family, way less complicated.
Yeah,
not wealthy or anything, but just Whereas
Comfortable.
whereas Dad's family was a mess.
Right.
So he used to say to us, my family starts with me. And then he just kind of like lived through Mum's family.
Interesting.
And then, but as the more I've looked into it, it's pretty fascinating. Like, it's pretty hard to track a lot of that story. But I've always just had this thing with my, ever since I was little, and it's emotional too. I get real upset and I get really moved by it all, by the oppression of our Aboriginal people back home in Australia, and the emptiness in our family. There's a lot of things that I'm really passionate about, and seems to be what I sing about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even really choose to. This is what I do. I sing about that.
It's interesting that your dad kind of tried to sort of like steer you clear of it, and yet it sort of like found you and came through you with somewhat of a vengeance. Yeah,
Dad used to get pissed, when I'd like talk about his family. He'd ring me up and he'd go, "What the fuck are you talking about me for?" And I'd be like, "Oh, hey, Dad." What? Be like, "Oh, I heard this. You're fucking going on about me and my family." And I'd be like, "It's my family too, man."
Right.
But he was pretty upset there.
Did you resolve it with him?
Yeah,
or is it still a thing?
No, he's pretty good, Dad, these days. He's an interesting man. Like he came from a tough sort of background, and he had a journey, but he's good now. He's in a pretty good space.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're with your mom too?
Yeah, Mum's a rock. Mum's solid. She's solid as. My old man was pretty difficult. Not many women probably would have stayed with him.
Right.
But
they stayed together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And now she's the boss.
Yeah. Do you have any siblings?
Now, he's softened.
Yeah.
So she says dig a hole, he goes and digs it.
Right.
So it's kind of perfect. But no, he's staunch Dad. He's a loyal guy, and he now, recognises that Mum stood with him, and he really, loves her for that. I got 6 brothers.
Wow. Okay, yeah. I actually remember hearing you say that in another interview. And you're the second oldest, is that right?
Second oldest, yeah.
Second oldest, yeah. That's cool. So is the family super proud of what you're doing? Or?
Yeah. Like all my brothers are really successful.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's doing really good at what they do. Like I think, we came from a pretty independent background. My mum's really intelligent. My dad's really tough. And we were made to stand on our own 2 feet sort of thing.
Yeah.
And my dad was a real sort of hard worker too. So they made good kids, Mum and Dad, and everyone's doing good stuff, and everyone's we don't see each other a lot, but everyone I think is proud of each other for what everyone's doing,
That's cool.
Yeah.
You say so you grew up in the bush, is that what you said?
Yeah, grew up in the scrub in the back of
What does that mean, or what is that like?
Just like in the I don't know, in the bush, like trees.
Yeah, just like nature. Yeah. Is that where they still live? Or your
they moved from that block that I'm talking about. Like that was out in the sticks. And they live in that same area, but not as far out.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you get started with music? Is there any other musician in your family?
My mum's dad, I feel like in a way he was a big influence on me because so he was a Dutch guy. He was very different to my dad. He was a very mellow, quiet, creative guy. Mm-hmm. And I gravitated to him. So I used to spend a lot of time with him as a kid.
He had the artist spirit.
Yeah. And he made instruments. So he taught me to use wood and stuff. When I was a kid, I used to work with him in his workshop. He never said anything, but I used to watch him. So he made me a few instruments and things, and he was also a singer. So he sang in a choir as like a baritone. He has a beautiful deep voice. And so there was him, and then on Dad's side, my nan, who I never met, was apparently a deadly dancer and could play anything on a piano too, like just self-taught. So.
How old were you when you started playing? Was it guitar or what was the first?
Yeah, I was always like kind of kid who'd muck around with anything. Like if we went somewhere and there was a piano there, I'd muck around with the piano. Or my brother had a guitar, so I taught myself some stuff on his guitar. So I never had any lessons. I learnt a few chords off a teacher I think I had at school in primary school. So I did some lessons with him, but I never had any proper like musical training, and then from there I just kind of taught myself.
What was like the first influences, music you liked, or?
I remember Dad singing albums, you know, like when we do surf trips and that, because he had a shitty car with no radio in it, so he'd sing. I remember him singing like Harvest, Neil Young Harvest, from like start to finish sort of thing when I was a kid. And
he could sing the whole album?
Yeah.
That's insane.
He's got a really nice voice, Dad. Yeah. He never...
Just a cappella, Neil Young's Harvest?
Yeah.
That was your first influence?
Yeah.
Amazing, dude.
I know, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Dad had a real good music taste. And all his records were my first introduction to music, you know. And he listened to cool stuff, you know, like... From those times, you know, he liked to listen to like things like Neil Young and Hendrix and Marianne Faithfull and, you know, Deep Purple, Leo Kottke. Yeah, tons of different albums when I was a kid. I remember just, you know, that Dad would listen to. And then he'd sing stuff. Like, he was probably pretty musical, my old man, but he never really had a chance to play or do anything.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so... And then, yeah, I always just wrote my own songs. I always just sang songs about what was going on around me. And often those were songs about what was going on out on country, because I just spend heaps of time with my dog camping. And so...
By yourself?
Yeah. And so I'd sing about things, birds, stuff I'd see, you know, whatever was going on. And they were songs, but I didn't even realise it, you know.
Right.
It was the same thing as I do now, exactly the same way as I write songs now, but back.
You write them a cappella, kind of.
Yeah. But when I was a kid, I didn't realise they were songs. They were just things I sang to myself.
Yeah. That's real interesting. So you apply the chord structure or the sort of harmony of it afterwards. Uh-huh. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so the melodies, and often sometimes the lyrics, I'll construct it in my head before I even take it to an instrument.
How accurate can you make it when you put the instrument behind it, or does that change?
Pretty close. Because I don't like it to change. Like, it's weird if it changes. Well, 9 out of 10 times it's weird, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because I want to try and keep it how it sounded in my head. Maybe 1 out of 10 times it'll be like, oh, it's actually cooler, you know, if I try these chords or whatever.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, because I pretty much never do that.
Right.
You know, and I think most people strum around.
Right, yeah.
And then the melody sort of suggests itself.
Yeah, I noticed that.
But I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a run and try to write some songs.
Leave your headphones behind.
I'm going to leave them behind.
Yeah.
This is definitely inspiring me on that. What happened to your back, though? Like, what was that whole...
I don't know, man. I think it's hereditary.
Just some...
Mum's got a fucked back. And then that on top of, like, some compression injuries. I was a pretty reckless kid. I fell off things, skateboards, and jumped off stuff, and like, you know,
So
probably had a few compression injuries that I didn't realize. There's one I remember. I jumped off a cliff in Fiji and landed on a rock when I was about 19, and I think I really hurt my back then, but I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And then it got me in my 30s, kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I had fusion and disc replacement surgery in my lower back. They went through my guts, and then I had the same thing about 3 months ago through my neck. So they went through here. They pulled all this aside, opened this up, and went into my spine and fused and replaced discs in my neck.
Wow. Is there any limited motion that you have?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
But you're not limited.
I'm stiffer, but I'm stronger.
Right.
So, my lower back helped incredibly. He completely fixed me.
Yeah.
I don't have as much range of movement. I'm a little bit more stiff, but it doesn't matter. I don't need it. It's way stronger and there's no pain.
Yeah.
My neck's still healing, sort of, so that's a bit hard to tell. So
Have you heard of
far.
Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yeah, I have.
You are the placebo and all that stuff.
Yeah, I heard.
Becoming supernatural.
I think it was that one, Becoming Supernatural.
Yeah.
I started to listen to the audiobook. I got a bit over it.
Yeah.
I didn't finish.
Why?
I don't know.
Just didn't do it.
I don't know if it was the narrator or if or it was the doctor.
I think he narrates it, but maybe not.
Okay, well,
Maybe.
whoever, I felt it was a bit, it was fascinating what they were saying, but it felt like it was a bit sort of self-righteous.
Yeah.
Like it was a bit much too soon.
Right.
I wanted it to be a bit more humble.
Well, he comes to mind because his whole thing got discovered through a spinal injury.
I've heard his story,
Yeah.
and I'm not disrespecting him and what he did and
Right.
the power of his mind and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I just found the book a bit.
Yeah.
I just lost interest.
Yeah.
But what he did fascinates me,
Yeah, me too.
and I've been focusing on, like I talked to my osteo about it after this surgery, and I've definitely been thinking about where my spine needs to sit and trying to meditate on that a bit.
Right.
Not to the point where I can do how many whatever hours
Healing.
a day he
Yeah.
did to do that. But that's fascinating. But I totally believe all that. And I totally believe that the mind is powerful enough to do it,
Yeah.
for sure. I just I'm just a bit ADD. I don't think I could.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not much good at meditating gently.
Nah, I'm not that great at it myself. I want to be good at it.
Yeah.
I've had periods where I've been good at it, but it's been periods where everything else in life went away and I was in isolation. I like when you describe camping with your dog, I just think like, oh man, like that is like the seeds of genius that kids nowadays can't get to because they're constantly having a huge entertainment source that basically
Totally, man.
subverts them from becoming inspired, because you have to empty it out and kind of go through boredom, you know, to start singing songs to the stars, and then all of a sudden you have all these new ways to entertain yourself, and to like you invent that. It comes through
Yep.
emptiness and like
Absolutely.
and dullness, like, and if you never give yourself that gift, which is really hard to do if you constantly have a source of distraction around you.
Yeah, I find the whole phone thing quite trippy. Personally, I don't like it at all.
It's very trippy.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get trippier.
'Cause how old are you?
40, almost 48.
Okay, so
How old are you?
I'm 41. So would have been same for you. Like when
Yeah,
I was a
grew up
kid,
without that shit.
yeah, we didn't even have an answering machine.
Right.
We had a telephone,
Yeah.
and if someone wanted to call someone,
Yeah, we didn't even have call waiting.
Yeah.
Until we got it.
what's that?
Well, it's like when you get another call can come through the other call.
That's fancy, man.
Yeah, that's fancy shit.
But yeah, I mean, I remember like if you wanted to call someone, you call the house, their mum answers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they're not here.
Yeah.
Okay, see ya.
Yeah.
And then if mum happens to tell the dude that you called, then he might call you back, or you might see him at school. Like, it just, you know what I mean?
You used to have to wait around for somebody to call you, or
exactly.
or else you couldn't get in touch.
I thought it was kind of cool.
But I mean, it's going to get trippier. I mean, they're making, all the Bluetooth headphones. I mean, and I have them, obviously I said that, but like the wearables, the watch, this, that, they're getting us prepared. They're indoctrinating us for the chip. Pretty soon it's going to go inside of people,
Yeah, true.
That's happening.
Is there talk of it?
Oh yeah, it's already happening. Elon Musk has like some company he's working with, and there's a chip, and it's like they're getting ready to do it. Mach 1.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. The whole phone, like, I find the whole phone thing kind of stressful. You know how because people text me, and then if I'm home, I don't use it.
Right.
So then I'll see someone and they'll go, "Did you get my text?"
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Nah." And then they think you're bullshitting because you got your phone there.
Right.
And I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And they'll be, you know what I mean? It creates this kind of weird.
Yeah.
And be like,
Are you on social media?
Yeah, I have an Instagram.
Yeah.
Which I took over from my management. I originally wasn't doing it, but then they suggested I should take it over, so I did, and that was like a year or two ago, which is cool.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing that. I've never been on Facebook. I have a Facebook, but I've never even used it. I've never even seen Facebook.
Right.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely robbing us of a connection to the spirit, I think, in some ways.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, yeah. I don't really use it. So, I still have my time where I'm just not connected to that world. But some people are connected to it all the time. Mm-hmm. Constantly.
It's addictive.
Yeah.
I mean, I get addicted to it.
Yeah.
I'm not like... I need to get away from it more than I am, I feel like.
Yeah, it's interesting, because everyone... I notice, like, wherever you go in the street, everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
And so, it's TV.
Right.
Essentially, right? It's just like watching a screen. It's like television. So...
Yeah, but you're the star of your own show.
Yeah, and... So everyone's watching way more TV than they used to, and then people used to say how people watch too much TV. Mm-hmm. Well, now that's like, threefold.
It's off the deep end.
It's on the deep end. You can watch it whenever you.
Yeah.
You can watch it while you're driving. You see people driving doing that.
Yeah.
You see people at street lights. It's like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Put that thing down.
So you've been on tour for about 3 months?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
What's the album you're supporting?
The last record I made was called Storm Boy. That came out last year. So.
Your 9th album.
Yep.
Yeah.
9th album. 9th studio album. Yeah. There's a couple of live ones, and been at it a while now.
How many years?
I think it's next year. I think next year will be like 20 years since I first played music outside of Australia.
Right.
So, like, I'd say 20 years on tour next year.
And are you on the road all the time?
Nah, but a lot. Like, I reckon 3 to 6 months a year I probably play music.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I still have good chunks of time at home. But
yeah.
I usually come out in our winter, which is now, and then do the Northern Hemisphere, which quite often is Europe. I do more in Europe than anywhere now. And then come here sometimes in Canada and, do these parts. while it's cold at home, sort of thing.
I like the Spirit Bird. Is that the one? What is it called? Spirit Bird?
That album, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Is that? And you said you wrote that on the beach or something like that, or you wrote? Or
Oh, the song, you mean?
Song, it
Oh, yeah,
channeled-
the song.
channeled through you, and you
The
wrote
song.
it in the sand.
Yeah, the song was heavy. I was in the Kimberley, which is it's in northwest Australia, and it's one of the last great wildernesses on the planet. It's there's no recorded extinctions. It's right out as far as remote as you can pretty much get in Australia, and yeah, I wrote that song when I was out there. And do you want to know the story?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd been at this rock art site. So there's a lot of like really old rock art sites in the Kimberley, which is cave art, but in some cases there's caves with like 4 cultures of art. You know, like
So not like Motley Crue rock art. This is
no.
dumb joke.
It's a shitty joke.
This is like actual rock art.
Yeah, totally.
4 cultures, one on top of the other.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot ancient. So the Wandjina mob, which is the Aboriginal people of that area today, there's art that predates them and they don't know who that was. In their story, they call it Goin Goin art, and it's people that existed before them. They say they were agricultural, whereas our mob were like hunters and gatherers. And they were peaceful, and we killed them. Is the story that the elders say, like that's been passed down over the last, say, I don't know, 20,000 years. And I'm pretty fascinated by that art. I've gone to see a fair bit of it.
What is it like?
It's beautiful. It's like
it's rocks formed or like painted on, or
yeah. There's a picture in one of my album covers of it. It's so they used most traditional mob use ochre, which is like a clay mixed with water to paint, and it stays on the rock a long time. The crew, they used a mixture of ochre, a berry,
for colors.
yeah, and water and blood, and it made this sort of like black ink that they used, and it pretty much formed on the rock over time. So
Like fossilized on it or some shit.
yeah, it's sort of like the rock's like glaze. It's almost like a glaze over the top of it. Like there's no way you could rub it off, sort of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
That's
so
crazy that they figured out a way to like have
Yeah.
something that would persevere through all the seasons. And
yeah,
everything.
and the art that's on top of it, that's like thousands of years old, is faded, whereas this art that's like 60,000 years old is still there. Anyway, it's really elegant. A lot of like dance kind of poses, like big long headdresses. In some instances, cloaks, like long cloaks, which up in that area, people were naked. They didn't need cloaks. It was pretty warm. So maybe different time, you know, different season, end of an ice age, I don't know. Boomerangs, but so that was sort of like same as, you know, the Wandjina mob, but spears. In some cases, there's a painting that has reindeer. They call it reindeer rock, and they seem to be like deer with horns, which Australia doesn't have. So there's all this like mysterious stuff. Like in some of the paintings, it looks like domesticated thylacine, which is like the Tasmanian tiger. But we're talking like the last Tasmanian tiger was down in Tassie, and this is like up in the northwest, like other end.
Evidence of a simulation.
Yeah, so you know these people were fascinating, and And over time, no one knows really anything about them, like who they were. They were ocean-going people. They like had big, on their paintings, there'd be like vessels with big prows on the front and back for navigating the ocean, whereas most of the Aboriginal people around there were just using like dugout canoes and rafts and stuff to take the tides and just fish. So yeah,
advanced, I guess.
Anyway, I'd been out on country looking at a bunch of different art, and there's red-tailed black cockatoos that were with me on that trip. So in our culture, they're the old people, and we had a mob of these red-tailed black cockatoos that were sort of following us around.
Are those birds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember I was coming back along a track, and I stopped to take a piss. I got out of the car and I looked up, and there was this dead tree that I hadn't noticed, and in it were these red-tailed black cockatoos, and they're quite flighty birds. You can't get close to them usually, and they're the ancestors. So this tree was right there, and then there was these birds, and then this one female bird just stared at me. And this is the best I can do to explain it. So she looked at my eyes, I looked back at her, and then all of a sudden I felt like I was sinking into the ground, and all these thoughts started flashing through my head, like and it was like faces, places, stuff, like memories,
like a flood
running through my brain, but it wasn't mine.
It was the birds.
Don't know. And then that lasted for probably maybe 30 seconds, and then that was it. And I was like, whew, that was kind of hectic. And then they flew off, and I got back in the car and kept driving. And then that night I got to the coast, and I wrote I was on a sacred women's beach, so the sun was coming down. I had
Sacred woman's beach?
Yeah, I had to leave the beach before sundown because it was a ceremony place for women.
Oh, okay.
So on that beach I wrote the first bit of Spirit Bird, the song, in the sand, and it just poured out of me. And then my mate took a photo of it, and they were the lyrics for the start of the song. And then so that was that, and then I had this melody in this song that I was singing. And then about a year later, so I didn't finish it, but about a year later I was in Canada and I was recording the Spirit Bird album, and the song wasn't even part of it. And I was sitting by a fire outside because I recorded on a lake, and there was the police had started to move in on that area, so there was a big mining dispute up there where I was.
Where was it?
Up in the Kimberley, up at James Price Point. So
what part of Canada is it?
Where I was?
Yeah.
So I was up in outside of Thornbury, which is like outside of Toronto somewhere, up in the lake area. So I was over there, and I was involved in this protest back home against this mining operation that was happening in the Kimberley. Anyway, it was about 10 o'clock at night in Canada, and I was sitting by the fire, and I just wrote the whole back half of the song. I just sang the whole back half pretty much. And I remember I was in tears at the end of it. It was heavy. And then that was the night that I joined the two halves together, and that thing that I'd written in the Kimberley became the front of this whole other thing, and then that was the song. Anyway, the next morning I woke up and I got a message that the police had moved in on that country, and they'd started to drag some of the elders, like the old women and people that were trying to protect their homelands off, and they'd moved in with bulldozers to start work on this mining operation. And it was right at this exact time that I'd written the back half of that song in Canada. It was like 12 midday back in Western Australia. So I feel like that song Spirit Bird came from that country, and it started with a red-tailed black cockatoo, a spirit bird.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And that was one where it definitely didn't come from me.
Right.
You know, that song.
Where do you think you get this gift of channeling from?
I don't know. No idea.
Is there any kind of like shaman in your family or anything like that? Or?
I don't know. Like, I don't know much about my family beyond what I told you before. I don't know who was who. But yeah.
Is it something that's always been with you since you were a kid?
Yeah, I can see things pretty clear. At times, I can read. I think I understand. Not saying that I don't have my own challenges, but I feel like I went to Peru and I got a reading on the whole ego. You know, standing outside your ego. That people learn through doing ceremonies in Peru and stuff.
Did you do any ceremonies?
Yeah. I went,
ayahuasca?
Well, it was part of it.
Okay.
The mixture that this old shaman made for me was like 11 different plants, I think, from the jungle. Ayahuasca and ayuma, which are the two that make you trip, they were just part of it. But the medicine was like 8 different plants or 11, I can't remember. So he went and, after I told him my story, he went and collected all that stuff. But, you know, I found that really powerful and fascinating, those ceremonies. But I'm not confused. I've never been confused by that stuff anyway. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. I think I've had a pretty good read on my ego naturally. I don't know what that means. Like, I haven't been confused by it. I've always been fairly clear. And when I say ego, I mean my whole emotional self.
The thing that might prevent you from channeling.
That might make you a bit. Line. Yeah, that might make you a bit more confused. Yeah. Or a bit, you know, not sure about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I've always understood, ever since I was little, that my music is beyond me, and that if I involve my ego too much in it, or I make decisions based on what I think people are going to want to hear, or make it about, you know, the image of the whole thing, it's almost like spirit will give me a backhander. You know, like, pull your head in, it's bigger than you. And I always had that understanding ever since I was little. And when I started playing professionally and all the rest, I always maintained that. And it was never something that I sort of like just discovered and went, oh, hang on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you had people from the outside try to subvert you, like people in the music business, this, that, or the other, that made it more confusing, or I had early success that made you go, oh, let's repeat this, like, because that can get confusing then.
Nah, because the most popular song I ever had was "Follow the Sun," it's called, and that was like a homecoming song that I recorded. I remember because it was like #1 in Holland at one point, and you know, I was never an artist that had any like #1 singles or anything. So all of a sudden, my song that I made 5 years before had this success in Holland, and my manager was sending me screenshots of the charts, and it was like things like Adele, Justin Bieber, me, and it was like climbing up these charts, and it ended up on top, and all these songs that were underneath were like these big production. And I remember when I made it, I did 2 takes of it, and I'd just come home and I'd written it, and I went in with a mate in a studio in Byron Bay, and I was late to pick up my kid from school because the surf was good, and I'd been going through a divorce at the time, so I couldn't. Didn't look good for me to be late to the school pickup. So I remember I went in there, harmonica, guitar, stomp box, did 2 versions of the song, and I had to go to get him from school. And Geordie was like, "Oh, why don't you just do a couple more?" I was like, "I can't, man. Just pick one out of those 2, or glue them together if you have to. Like, I got to go." So that was that song. And then, so it probably cost, I don't know, $500 to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's why I laughed like years later when I saw it on the, I've had so much success from that song. People love that song. It's been used for lots of different things, and, it's done really well for me. But, it was just a song that I wasn't even going to put on the record. It ended up being on Spirit Bird, but it was my new manager that I started with at the time that I released that record. He said, "Oh, you should put that song on it." I remember, because I played it to him, and I was like, "Oh, this is just this other song, but it's just like a homecoming song." I was stoked to get home from that trip I was telling you about when I was in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that, and he was like, "Oh, I think you should put it on the record."
How did success come with that? Did it get on an ad or something?
I don't know. It just ended up going gangbusters in Europe.
Just out of the blue, or just something?
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
I'm just trying to think. Got heaps of radio play, particularly in Holland. Got remixed in Italy.
4 on the floor.
Yeah, well, it's 4 on the floor anyway, because I stomped my foot in it.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, got a few. The remix was kind of cool, actually. I didn't mind the remix. Just sort of like a bit more Euro.
Mm-hmm.
The guy added some synths, and I don't think he might have added a beat, but it was similar to what I already had there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't remember why. I can't remember how that all happened. But like 5 years after I made it became a thing. So yeah, to get back to what you're saying, yeah, I've had people suggest things, and I've definitely met industry people and stuff along the way, but I've never really had too much influence from that world, like, because I always was pretty independent, and it was only really through what I was doing on my own that companies ever really got interested in wanting to distribute it and shit, because I don't think I ever was really like a marketable artist to a record company. I was kind of like this kooky dude who was playing digers and weird instruments on stage. Like, it just didn't, I don't think it really fit anyone's mold.
Right.
So I never had any big offers from any big record companies.
No pressure that subverted you or anything like that.
No, I never really. I always just did my own thing.
You seem to feel like music is like a healing art. I feel like just
yeah. It's important,
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes the personal side of me doesn't want to be where I am. I struggle sometimes in America. I'm not a huge fan of America. Certain places.
I'm just kidding.
No, and I don't mean that in any way against America. I feel sadness in America.
Mm-hmm.
I think American people are lovely, and kind and helpful and all the rest, particularly in certain areas. Like, this is a great place, and there's some great places in America, but I feel really sorry for American people, because I feel like there's all this pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from this massive weight that no one can really carry.
Right.
But everyone wants to
try.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad.
It is.
It's like, it's hard. I think it's hard work for people. So I feel makes me a bit sad. I feel like you can feel the weight of that. But in saying that, there's places that I go that I particularly maybe aren't connected to, and where I kind of want to go home. But those are the places where I really notice the shows are really important. People need it.
Yeah.
They need the music.
Yeah.
And that's where I understand that what I do is bigger than my choices. It's my path. I've been given that path. I've been given that opportunity to do that. And there's a lot of great musicians in the world, everywhere, that don't have the opportunity to do what I'm doing. And I respect them, and I also respect the spirit of what I do and the messages that come along with what I do that indirectly come through me, but that come from whoever walked before me in my homeland, you know. And I feel proud that I can share the story of my homeland around the world.
Yeah.
Because Australia has a lot of problems of its own, and it's still even now a very racist place. There's a lot of history that's been swept under the carpet. There's a lot of pain still back home. There's a lot of wounds that haven't been healed. Our government hasn't made any effort to heal them. And so I feel like some of the baggage that I carry comes from that time, and it's nice to give it some light, you know, around the world.
Yeah.
And I feel proud to do that.
That's cool.
Mm.
Yeah. And so you don't always like being on the road, though. You say sometimes you wish you were...
No.
You could let it go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think I'll always do this, but
Yeah.
I got a pretty good life back home, man.
What do you do, surf?
Yeah. I live in a magical spot.
Really?
I surf. I got beautiful dogs, a beautiful wife, beautiful kids.
Yeah.
I got, you know, I live in a really beautiful part of the world. I'm really connected to it. When I leave there, part of me doesn't come. So I'm only ever traveling at 90% of myself, maybe 80.
Right.
So, you know.
Did you always feel like that, or particularly more now? Or no, always?
Yeah, people always ask me if there's anywhere I'd want to live outside of Australia after everywhere I've been. There's not anywhere. I'm really connected to my homeland. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I like playing music, but yeah, I'm not always, you know, I'm not a big city person, so.
That perspective probably keeps you pretty sane and healthy, though, I would think.
Yeah.
Because it's if you're fully all in and you sort of take it all too seriously, I think it kind of can sweep you under easier than if you have that anchor of like, okay, this is my real life. Now I'm out here doing this thing to serve others.
Yeah.
Plus you have this like purpose-driven motivation behind it, which is powerful.
Yeah. And it's, you know, and it pays the bills.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so it's like it's definitely like I respect the fact that, you know, I've worked a shit ton of jobs in my life too, like as a kid and stuff, you know, I was always working different jobs, and, you know, like I know what it's like to earn crappy money doing a crappy job. So I've never taken that for granted. You know, I get paid well to play music, and I you know, I'm stoked about that too. But is it do I love being in cities? No, I don't like it at all. I prefer to be, you know, back
home. Do you play when you're home?
Yeah, I do. But if I've been on the road doing what I'm doing like now, I probably won't play for. Depends if I'm writing stuff. Yeah, I'm happy to leave.
How many kids?
I got 3 kids.
Yeah. Are you teaching them music, or are they musical?
They're musical, but I never taught them anything. I just like have stuff around and they can use it the way they want, sort of vibe. You know, if they ask me, I'll tell them my opinion on how to play something, but I don't know if the way I play things is probably not technically that correct anyway. So I just let them do it their way.
And how many instruments do you play? You play a shitload, don't you?
I use a lot of stuff, but I feel like I don't play many instruments, but I guess I do. I don't know. I don't know how many, but I just muck around on stuff. Probably don't play any well. I just make noises on heaps.
Yeah.
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 I have my own style.
That's cool. You got any questions?
I do have one. I'm just curious, and we have to wrap it up because we know you have to go. Your tattoos are beautiful.
Oh, thanks,
it's
man.
Obviously, some
Cheers.
Aboriginal art on there.
Yeah. So,
Does any of them have any special meanings?
yeah, they all do.
They
Actually.
all do.
Yeah. They all do. Like, I don't know where to begin, but, that's my grandmother
Mm-hmm.
that I talk about. These dots represent footsteps, This is where I grew up. That's the totem of...
The eagle?
Yeah, it's a wedge-tailed eagle. It's Bunjil is the language name of it, but that's the totem of the land where I grew up. These are huge, these birds. They're big brown eagles. Yeah, but everything has...
And the birds?
Birds. This is a kookaburra. He's a big fat kookaburra. He's I feel like he's always been with me. Always, like he's the main bird that I acknowledge when I go home, I don't know if you've ever heard of kookaburra.
No, can I see that one? I can't see. Oh, okay. Why is he the main man?
My wife always laughs when I got this tattoo because I came home and she was like, he's pretty fat, kookaburra. And I was like, he's only going to get fatter. He goes... what?
She fat shamed your cocklebarrel?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah, it was... You had to be there maybe, but yeah, it was just funny. I remember laughing. But what was I talking about?
That was your main...
Oh, yeah, so like ever since I was a kid, like... Yeah, they're just... Probably the bird that I'm most connected to.
Mm-hmm.
They're always there. And they got this crazy call. They kind of go... Like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you do that live? That's great. You should put that in the show, dude.
I've been known to.
Yeah.
Right, I'll do it tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just cool. They're real stealthy hunters too. They got this big beak, and then you see them, they'll be sitting up in a tree, and they'll just go, poof, and they'll just like swan dive towards the ground and go whack into the straight head first into the ground.
Wow.
And pull out anything with this big beak. It's just like a big drill. It's cool. Yeah.
When you say you're connected to that bird or to other birds, what do you mean by that? Because a lot of people hearing that will not be able to understand what a connection to a bird is like.
I don't know.
It's hard to verbalize,
maybe like
but
maybe. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe like you were saying, when you're a kid and are you bored or are you lonely? I don't know what you are, but you're out there and they're your mates.
yeah.
Yeah. They're familiar.
Right.
And they're there at sundown and they're there in the morning. And if you're camping in the dark and you're little and it's like pitch black and you can hear kangaroos and that shuffling around and the kookaburras are there, they're kind of,
And they're talking.
they got
to
your
you.
back.
Yeah.
So I think
I understand that.
maybe it's that. Maybe it's, every time I go home and I hear that sound, I'm home,
Mm-hmm.
I'm back home.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I'm in a way we're talking to each other.
Right.
And There's a line in one of my latest songs on the Storm Boy record. It's actually called Storm Boy, and I say, Kookaburra calls just like he knows, and I call right back, yes, I'm home. He's been with me, he's watched me grow through those rainy days and those rocky roads.
Right.
Like, I'm connected to him.
Yeah, connected to nature too.
And like I remember like the white cockatoos,
Uh-huh.
they were like my mum. So like, they're like, so there's sound. And I remember like whenever I'd go out and I'd be out camping or whatever and they'd be carrying on, I'd be like, oh, Mum, like, cool it. Because she'd be like that too.
And do you ever have a situation where like you might be thinking a certain thought or like a certain direction to go in and then you hear the Kookaburra or something like that is kind of like
yeah, for sure. You got to
speaking to you saying like, yes, that's a good thought, or like, or if it's a it's like, no, don't do that, maybe, or it's like that kind of communication.
maybe not so much thoughts, but navigating country, like getting around, for sure. You always got to watch what the animals are doing in Australia.
How so?
Well, like, you know, the easiest way to find water is to watch the birds.
Uh-huh.
You know, that kind of thing, like where they're going.
Follow them and then you'll find water.
Yeah, or you'll see them congregating above water, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, like, you know. Yeah, I'm always aware when I'm back home of what other things are doing, naturally. But
Who taught you that?
I think this has always been in me. Dad a little bit. But yeah, different elders, different people, just being out and just watching, mostly watching,
paying attention,
country, but sometimes watching humans on country, and noticing what they do.
So what's next after this?
We go to Canada tonight.
Yeah.
And
3
then
more shows and then you're done, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going home.
Congratulations.
You look
Thanks,
happy.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is a real cool place, so I really like
Oh, this is a great venue.
Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
This town.
This neighborhood, too.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking this morning, because usually, you know, I find the city, there's like I can see where certain cities are cooler than others, you know, like Portland, Oregon, and
well, this one's super cool.
This place is the best place.
Well, dude, there's so much emotion on the street.
This place is incredible.
It's really great too.
It's awesome. Yeah. I think it's it's definitely the coolest place that I've been to in America.
Mm-hmm.
I love like you were saying, you can feel the emotion in the you know, I guess lots of stuff's happened here, and there's, you know, so many different cultures and cool stuff going on in the streets. It's I don't know, it's hard to explain, but there's a vibe here that's cool. So yeah, this place is cool. But yeah, we go up to Canada, and then we got 3 more shows, mostly Quebec, I think, and then home.
And then what? Are you working on another album?
Yeah, I am actually. I don't know if I'm working on albums anymore.
Right.
I'm working on songs.
Yeah.
Do we still make albums?
I don't even know, man.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, dude.
I'm wondering now.
I'm about to put one out, but who knows?
Yeah.
I'm more like that. It's almost like an excuse to facilitate a bunch of new stuff. Like I'm making live clips with him, and I'm excited. I'm always excited about what I'm doing in the moment. So by the time an album comes out, I'm like, like I want you to hear what I'm doing now, you know. And I've always had that.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering, same, but I'm wondering now, like, you know, with Spotify and everything, which is how everyone listens to music. Then I'm thinking, well, actually, maybe it's just easier to just make a song and put out a song, and then you don't have to worry about the rest of the record. You know?
It's true.
And just make songs. So I don't know whether I'm going to do that or whether I'm going to make an album. I don't know.
Yeah. Are you on a label? You do your own? Are you independent?
Warner distributes my stuff in Australia and New Zealand, and here it's Network, but I own my own music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing my own right now.
Cool.
This new one.
Nice.
Yeah, I just want to build up my own thing so I can just like not worry about swapping and changing and just like from here go independent fully.
Well, it's sort of like it's the way to go really these days, eh?
I think so. Yeah, you can find distribution, you can get a publicist, you know. I mean, if you have a manager and a partner and somebody to help you, and you know, and a booking agent, it's like, what else is there?
Yeah, true.
And if you cut out the label too, you know, the impetus is on you to make this happen. And there's no, a lot of times with labels nowadays, it's like then you think they're going to do something and they don't really do anything. And then so sort of you end up doing less. Yeah. Because you're waiting for something, and then they're also waiting for something, and then you're just like caught in a room staring at each other. Both of you are waiting for something.
And then you never really know who the actual individuals are that are actually working on it. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. I always find that kind of weird. How you might meet the label guy that seems cool or whatever, but who's actually doing the work? Right. And are they cool too, or do they not get it?
Well, they're affected too. Like, I mean, because my manager talks about it, like, and he used to work at labels before he was a manager, and he just like we talk about it. And it's like back in the 90s, like labels took real pride in hard work and in doing stuff, and since like the sort of death of the music industry as to what it was, you know, their motivation is a little bit thwarted now too, because of all the rumors of, it doesn't matter. You know, they're living in the same world too, and it's so weird to everybody. They don't know what's going on. It's weird, eh? Yeah, it's a weird time.
Because I definitely had a record. I definitely had a record that came out and did well before the digital thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and got my checks and all that. Right. And saw that side of the whole thing, and then the digital phenomenon came in, and I've been still out there doing it ever since. Yeah, and it's been fascinating to kind of watch the whole industry change. Yeah, from the big tycoon record companies to all these independent things that are happening now. It's kind of cool, you know, like how anyone can put music out and do it, whereas back in the day no one could.
It's true. Yeah, you can do it all now. It's like my first album came out in 97 on Peter Gabriel's label. Right. You know, and then that went through Virgin, and so I got to make a big LA record with T-Bone Burnett producing. Right. And so I saw that side.
He's wicked, that guy.
He is wicked.
Yeah. How was that?
It was incredible. Yeah. Yeah. So I saw that side of the music industry too. And then and I've been doing it ever since as well, surviving through the transitions.
It kind of was a shit show there for a while.
Oh man,
it seems to be getting better now.
Yeah, it does seem to be getting better, which is good.
I was lucky though, because I was always a live artist, so I made my money playing live. Right. You know, record sales were a bonus. Yeah. And if it was a good bonus, great. But you know, it was always like live. Yeah. So. But I did see a lot of people suffer that weren't so much focused on live, you know, that were doing, you know, because it was a big kick in the dick for people like that, you know.
Definitely.
Kick in the dick. About going back to your live stuff and cell phones and everything you described earlier, I had a thought. As an artist on stage, I know as a fan watching with what's going on with cell phones today, and the audience sees the screen. You as a performer, over the years with what's happening with cell phones, does it prevent you from connecting with the crowd? Does it bother you? Do you try to do anything about it, or
don't notice it?
Nothing.
I mean, I notice people on phones, but it doesn't bother me. But I don't see a lot of phones in my shows. Like, people have them, but people are more dancing, I think, at my shows. And they're not really filming so much. We watched Toots the other night at a festival, Toots Hibbert, you know, Toots and the Maytals.
Mm-hmm.
He's 76 now. He's amazing. He's still killing it.
Right.
But there was one song where he said, I think he was saying, "Everybody get out your cellular," and no one had any idea what he was saying. He was trying to get everyone to like turn the torchlight on and get this happening, but he kept calling them cellulars.
Yeah.
And it was funny because no one
knew
it's like slowly as people worked it out, and you see people slowly working it out. I just loved, it was just a cool moment for me watching the old man sort of like embracing the modern day, but you know, he comes from such an old era. I mean, you know, he was like Bob Marley's idol sort of thing. He's still going, the old man.
That's wild.
Yeah, he's a legend.
What festival was that?
It was called Whale Rock Festival in California. It was a cool festival, small festival out in the bush somewhere. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Tonight, Williamsburg Music Hall.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Brooklyn. Yeah.
You ever played here before?
Apparently I have, but
Yeah.
I don't remember it at all, man.
Right.
It must have been in that blurry
Opiate
days. Yeah. Because, the thing about those drugs was it was about 6 months to a year I was on those things. And it feels like the whole world is on those things these days.
Yeah.
You know, I got some friends, you know, I got a close friend who was a good friend of Andy Irons. And, you know, we were talking about, you know, his whole journey as well, but recently. But those opiates are brutal, man. They're gnarly. Like, I don't remember anything clearly from that time. It's just a blur.
Yeah.
So it's like cancelling people's lives out until they die.
Absolutely.
They're gnarly, those things.
They are gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that coupled with everybody's on speed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are. I'm not, but
A lot of people on speed here?
yeah, I mean, what do you call it? Adderall.
Yeah, right.
You know, ADD.
Oh, okay.
Which is just like, who doesn't have ADD now?
Yeah.
Like, if
totally.
you didn't, it got induced in you by
Yeah.
now, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that one's demonic as well.
Yeah, interesting, hey?
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical world.
During that year, did you write any songs, or there was absolutely nothing?
I'd written a beast of a record, and I was touring it, and I didn't write anything. I don't think I wrote anything. Pretty sure I didn't. I was a bit of a zombie.
What about microdosing? You ever do that? Mushrooms or anything like that?
Yeah,
That's helpful, I find.
yeah. Not a very good microdoser though.
Right. I
I'm-
always want
you
a
know.
little bit more.
I'm a bit of a guts with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't go hard or don't go at all.
Yeah.
So I tend to. But yeah, I do enjoy mushies here and there and LSD. But yeah, nothing.
Got any on you? No, I'm just kidding.
We ate them.
You ate them all?
Yeah. We ate them the other day.
Get rid of them before you cross the border.
Exactly.
Yeah. Canada can be rough. Well, cool, man. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Really
nice to meet you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you,
Yeah,
too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Is that your accent, like a full New York accent?
Yes and no.
Kinda.
I grew up in Israel, so
Okay, 'cause
and my dad's from Boston, so
Right. Okay. Maybe it's Boston.
but
I'm
it's
hearing.
20 years living in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a New York
On top of Boston, maybe on top of.
Yeah, because it's cool. Like, because, I always try and pick people's accents.
Oh.
Coming from Australia, we get all these American movies.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I always try and pick which accents are from where.
Oh,
And as I've traveled around America, like, I can
you can
pick the
tell
different
them apart.
accents. I like them. Yeah, it's cool.
My dad has a Boston accent,
Yeah.
which I don't pick up on.
I like that. I like that one, the Boston one. And I like the southern ones, the real, like,
Yeah.
slow ones. Those are cool.
They're
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
Southern accent.
Yeah, those real slow drawl. You drawl, is that what you call
Y'all.
it? Yeah, all those guys. Classic, man.
Those guys.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, have a great show. Thank you.
Thanks, bro. Nice
Thanks, Dave.
nice to chat to you.
Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.